Bill Gates, you know the name, the tech genius, the global philanthropist, the man who wants to save the world. But what if I told you the official story is a carefully constructed lie? What if I told you that new evidence, buried for a decade, directly implicates Bill Gates in the darkest scandal of our century? Not with vague associations, with specific, damning, undeniable details. This isn't conspiracy, this is evidence. And today we are going to read the script of the interview Bill Gates is too afraid to give. We are going to confront him with the facts, and you will decide if he's a naive philanthropist or something else entirely. Before we begin, this investigation is dangerous. We need you on our side. Smash that like button right now, hit subscribe and hit the bell. This is the story they are trying to bury. This is Uncovered News. Let's go. Bill Gates. The meeting was in 2011. You were the most respected man on the planet. He was a convicted sex offender, a registered felon, and yet you sat down with him. Not once, over and over, for 3 years. Your staff warned you. Your wife Melinda begged you to stop, but you continued. Why? Was it really for charity, Bill? Or was it for something Jeffrey Epstein uniquely provided to every other powerful man in his black book? Let's read the transcript. This is you, Bill Gates, being questioned under oath of the evidence. No PR team, no softballs. Mr. Gates, you state your focus was always on philanthropy. Can you explain the 2014 email from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, where he writes you were angry about not winning a Nobel Prize and wanted his connections to get one? Is that philanthropy, Bill? Or is it personal vanity, facilitated by a sex trafficker? The room is silent. The excuse of global health shatters. This reveals a different motive, a craving for status, for legacy, that you thought Epstein could feed. But it gets worse, Bill. Far worse. That same email contains a line so specific, so grotesque, it changes everything. Epstein wrote it down. He said you had, and I quote, a weakness for Asian girls. Your spokesperson called it an incredible claim from a liar. But we have to ask the question you dread. Why that lie? Why would a man who dealt in blackmail and secrets invent such a racially charged, detailed fiction about you? Was it random, Bill? Or was Jeffrey Epstein, the master manipulator, planting a seed? Was he constructing a narrative, a piece of potential kompromat, to hold over the head of the world's richest man? Think about it. He writes this to himself, to his partner in crime. He documents it. For what future use? Now let's talk about the meetings you can't explain away. The flight logs show the Lolita Express ferrying your fellow billionaires and politicians to a private island. Your name isn't on those logs. You say you never went. But here's what you can't erase. The photographs, the social events, the dinners. You were in the orbit. You breathed the same air. And we have to ask the direct question based on the patterns of every other Epstein associate. What was the true currency of your relationship? Because Jeffrey Epstein did not broker donations. He brokered access. He brokered secrets. He brokered young women. So I ask you directly, Bill Gates, which currency were you there to trade in? Your story is one of naive bumbling. You, the strategic mastermind who built Microsoft, you were suddenly a fool who couldn't see the monster in plain sight. For 3 years. Does that hold up? Or does the evidence point to a colder, more calculating truth? That you saw exactly who and what he was, and you calculated that the benefits, the connections, the inside track to a shadow network of power, outweighed the catastrophic moral risk. And then there's the consequence you cannot spin, your marriage. Melinda French Gates. She saw Epstein for what he was immediately. Reports confirm she was deeply unhappy from the very first meeting in 2013. She set a boundary. And you, Bill, you crossed it. You continued the relationship. You chose the company of a convicted sex offender over the comfort of your wife. In 2021, she finally left. And multiple sources state your ties to Jeffrey Epstein were a decisive factor. So let's be clear. Your association with a pedophile is not just a regrettable mistake in your professional life. It is the documented reason your personal life imploded. Your wife left you over it, Bill. What does that tell us about the true nature of those philanthropic dinners? We are left with two Bill Gates. The first is the public saint, the humble genius giving away his fortune. The second is the private man, the one who cultivated a years-long relationship with a known monster, ignored all warnings, sparked his wife's deepest disgust, and is now implicated in a web of bizarre, specific allegations that he dismisses as the lies of a criminal. But in the world of Jeffrey Epstein, the lies were always tangled with truth. They were tools. So we must ask the final chilling question of this section. If the allegation about you is a lie, Bill Gates, why did Jeffrey Epstein bother to tell it? What did he have to gain from targeting you with such a strange, specific fiction? Unless it wasn't a fiction at all. Unless it was a warning, a receipt, a piece of a hidden truth. This is just the beginning. The cover-up goes much deeper. In Section 2, we expose the coordinated media machine that has worked tirelessly to whitewash your reputation since the day these files were unsealed. We connect the dots to the powerful interests who need the myth of Bill Gates to remain untarnished. And we reveal what this story means for all of us. The illusion is breaking. Don't go anywhere. So, Bill Gates, we've established the facts, the 3-year relationship, the ignored warnings, the divorce it caused, the damning specific email from Epstein himself. The portrait is clear. But a man of your power and wealth doesn't just face the court of public opinion. He builds a defense fortress. And that's exactly what you've done. Section 2 isn't about what you did then. It's about what you and your machine are doing right now to erase it. This is the anatomy of a cover-up, played out in plain sight. Let's start immediately after the files began to unseal. The headlines were brutal. Your name forever linked. And what was the response? Not a grand, televised reckoning. Instead, a sophisticated, multi-pronged media blitzkrieg designed to flood the zone with alternative narratives. Look at the timeline. Within days of damaging reports, a wave of positive Bill Gates stories hit major outlets. Bill Gates on solving climate change. Bill Gates' vision for the future of public health. A candid conversation with Bill Gates on AI. The timing wasn't coincidence. It was strategy. It was reputation laundering 101. Dilute the toxic news with a high volume of sanitized, visionary content. You didn't address the fire. You simply built a bigger, brighter billboard in front of it. But the real tell, Bill, is in the language. Your allies in the friendly media pivoted to a very specific, carefully chosen lexicon. The word mistake was used. Regret. Naive. These are soft words. They imply a minor error in judgment, a stubbed toe on the path to goodness. They deliberately avoid the harder, truer words. Complicity. Association. Moral failure. They never say, Bill Gates repeatedly consorted with a convicted sex trafficker against the explicit pleas of his family. They say, he acknowledges missteps. This is linguistic engineering. It's designed to soften the crime, to reduce a profound breach of ethics into a simple oopsie. And it's targeted directly at your most valuable asset, your legacy as a benevolent technocrat. Let's talk about that legacy, Bill, because that's the ultimate shield, the Gates Foundation. It does measurable, life-saving work, vaccines, agriculture, education, and this is the most powerful part of your defense. Any critic is immediately framed as an enemy of that good work. You're attacking the man who's eradicating malaria, they say? You're targeting a man who gives away billions? The implication is monstrous. To question Bill Gates' character is to side with disease, with poverty, with death. It's a moral chokehold. It silences critics by framing scrutiny as an act of evil. But we absolutely must, be able to separate the work of a foundation from the conduct of its founder. Otherwise, we grant unlimited moral license to anyone who writes a big enough check. Philanthropy cannot be a get-out-of-jail-free card for corruption of the soul. Now let's follow the money. Not the charity money, the influence money. Your network is unparalleled. You fund major media outlets through grants to their parent companies or their health and science reporting desks. You are a primary funder of global health reporting at the BBC, at NPR, at countless prestigious universities. This doesn't mean every journalist is bought, but it creates a structural bias. It builds relationships. It makes access to Bill Gates a prized commodity for news organizations. And what editor, relying on Gates Foundation grants for their prestigious global health desk, is going to greenlight a no-holds-barred investigative deep dive into the Epstein connections? The conflict of interest is staggering. You haven't silenced the press, Bill. You've made yourself its patron. And patrons don't get savaged by their beneficiaries. But the most insidious part of the cover-up isn't in the headlines. It's in the silence. Where is the sustained investigative pressure from the so-called powers that be? Where are the congressional hearings demanding your testimony under oath about what you discussed with Giuffre Epstein? Where is the serious documentary from a major studio, subpoenaing emails, interviewing staff, and confronting the contradictions? It doesn't exist. Because your power transcends traditional politics. You are a private citizen with the resources of a nation-state. You exist in a supra-governmental space, a network of NGOs, global health initiatives, and UN partnerships where accountability is diffuse and public scrutiny is minimal. You've built a world where you are judged not by elected officials, but by fellow billionaires and foundation board members. It's the ultimate insulation. This brings us to the final and most important consequence. This isn't just about you, Bill Gates. This is about the death of trust. For decades, you sold the world a story that the geniuses of Silicon Valley, the data-driven optimists, were here to save us. We were to trust you with our health, our food, our climate, our very future. You positioned yourself as the rational, benevolent father figure in a chaotic world. The Epstein revelations shatter that myth. They reveal the clay feet. They prove that the man who wants to implant a digital health certificate in your body, who buys vast swaths of farmland, who lectures the world on population and behavior, is the same man who spent years in the corrupted orbit of Jeffrey Epstein. If your judgment is that catastrophically flawed in one realm, the most basic realm of human morality, why on earth should we trust your judgment in every other realm? Why should we trust your visions for societal change when you couldn't even see the evil in the man sitting across your dinner table? That is the real crime here, Bill. You have poisoned the well of public trust. You've shown that the architect of our future is willing to dine with the architect of our deepest nightmares. You've demonstrated that the pursuit of power and influence, whether for good or ill, can blind even the smartest man to pure evil. So when you next appear on a stage, talking about pandemic preparedness or carbon capture, a ghost will be standing next to you, the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein, and we will all remember. We will remember that your money builds hospitals, but your judgment sought the company of a monster. We will remember that your foundation saves lives, but your actions broke a family. The cover-up can't erase that. The positive press can't undo it. The legacy is now forever, irrevocably, stained. This is the truth they don't want you to see. Not just about a man, but about the system that protects him. It's a system where money launders reputation, where philanthropy immunizes against accountability, and where the powerful write their own history. We've seen the script. We've heard your defenses. The question now is for us. Do we accept the cover-up, or do we demand something more? Real answers, real accountability, not just for Bill Gates, but for a world where this could happen in the first place. If you believe in that demand, then your voice matters. Share this video, leave a comment, break the silence. This is Uncovered News. We are not done.